Unprecedented times call for unprecedented rhymes. Yeah, welcome to the hip hop version of the feedback loop. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that at all. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It is a crazy, crazy Monday, and I can't think of any better bunker to be in than the one I'm in here with you. As we jump into this week's design work, we've got a lot of submissions in here. Tejal's here, Katie's here, Rebecca's here, and I'm also going to take you through a couple of things that I'm working on as well. It's We're just going to have a fun time with it. Anything to distract us from the rest of whatever is going on outside. The interesting thing that's playing out through all of this is this rapid shift to remote. I've been a proponent of remote for years now, and this is not how I would have predicted that it would have went down, that everybody would have moved to remote. But hey, welcome to the party. It's funny though. In going remote, I've actually my home office has turned into a co-working space and a school. So like a elementary school. So it's it's also been transformative in that manner as well. So there's adjustments to be made on all sides, and I'll be we'll be dropping tips and hints on how to best adjust from that perspective. The one thing I want to make clear is if you are running into issues, because there is a concern about data and streaming capacity during this time where everybody comes online at the same time. Just remember that while we stream, we also record, and we post those recordings to YouTube, and you can always go back and watch should you have some sort of issue watching the original feedback loop. So just know that is there for you as well. So let's go ahead and jump on in and get this started. Rebecca is working on a project for the Knife Doctor. So Rebecca's working on all these things. She's got SizeWeight, and she's got the Orlando care thing, and now she's also got Knife Doctor. Very, very busy lady. But she's put together some combinations, basically trying to come up with a design for, and I'm going to find that. It's right here. The Ye Old Knife Doctor. And she's working through a few things right now. This is an image that she's working with. I'm not quite sure how close to finished this combination is. But she's specifically asking this morning about typography. And that's what she's basically leading to over here. There's a couple of things that I want to point to, and these are standards that we set long ago. Anything like this is a sorry that I can't actually access that because I don't have that font loaded, but anything that is a tall, condensed typeface shouldn't be utilized for small typography. Okay, we've stated that. That's if you go through the Instagram story that we put together on pairing typography, that's like literally one of the combinations that we looked at. You can always go tall condensed for your headlines. But when it comes to copy, I would stay away from it. If anything, I would look at something like this in combination with, something like that. So as we look through here, I'm just kind of taking everything in. Here, I would really want this to go. I would suggest going all the way up with it so that it stands out. Because right now these two are virtually the same. Yes, this is bold, but I would knowing that you're putting this with an image behind it, it's almost like everything's got to come up bold. So that's a consideration. Same thing really with Open Sans. You know, you've got an extra bold option here. This is bold. I might go semi-bold and then put a screen behind it. And that's the other thing that I'm looking at with any of these. I'll turn that back to regular where you had it. With any of these, if you've got an image, and we'll just pull an image in really fast to this so we have one to work with. The question is, what images do I have handy dandy? Yeah, I'll pull this image in. This is for a circuit court project that I'm working on. I'll give you folks a peek into that in a second. But here we've got this circuit court, and it's you know, it's got the classic problem of light dark. Okay, so that's good. That's what we want. That's what we want. And then we're just going to put a rectangle right over the top of this so that we can see what this would be like to work with. You know, if it was, I don't think red's really the color, but yeah, red and the Knife Doctor. Maybe not red and the Knife Doctor. Maybe that's a bad thing. But we'll go with the green. Not because we have to, just because we are going to. All right, so that gets that combination there. I'm going to group it and lock it so that we can, you know, we can just take some of these over and look at them. And of course yeah, okay. That's interesting. Let's undo that. Let's move that to the top. Okay, so now we got it on top. So you can begin to get a sense of what this would be like here. Obviously, we can't read it like that, but you're going to reverse out, right? Right. So here, we've reversed out. Here, we've reversed out. And this is more of an accurate way of looking at, okay, so regardless of the image that goes in the background, and I think that is very important. A lot of times your clients will come behind you while you're working on a project, and they'll change the image. Like, it won't even really be the same design that you gave them. They'll update it somehow. So you've got to have something that's pretty resilient. Here, yeah, I'm just going to bring it down so we got like the 3-line thing. There we go. All right, so immediately I want to go up with this. Okay, that's a little better. Here, I may even want to go up with everything, to be honest with you. It's not bad. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Part of this is simply I really can't just adjust the type. I have to also consider, okay, can I go darker? Okay. Now, because we went darker with the screen, we have a little more opportunity to say, okay, I can do some nuance here. I can go light. And now I have some measure of contrast happening here. Okay, which without this, without the adjustment to the screen behind it, I can't really do that. Okay, so regardless of what my selection is over here, what actually matters more is how am I handling the treatment of that photo. Because again, if I come in here and this is, let's say it's 10%, it doesn't really matter what you pick, it's not going to stand out. And the more control you have over that background, the more likely it is that you can do something that's nuanced. Like with this 50%, I'd have to go bold with the subed, but at 100%, I can go light. Okay, so this is a tandem thing. Whenever you put images over, whenever you put images on top of or over images, whenever you put text on top of an image, you have to take into account how much control you have over the different pieces of that experience. The other thing I want to look at is, this is really just pairing on size and weight. Okay, so that's Roboto, that's Roboto. This is not pairing in terms of pairing of typography. So let's, I'm gonna pull in another vertical, just not because you can't use Gothic or Bebas, but I have Oswald right here. All right, and if you want to say look sharp, and here I'd say look sharp. Go with your all cap thing. All right, and that works. That's fine. You would not confuse Roboto, which is kind of condensed, with Oswald, which is really condensed. The other one I think is League Gothic. No, League Script. No, that's definitely not it. Jesus, that's terrible. League Spartan. No, not exactly what I was looking for. And now I've broken the damn thing because I pulled in a variable font that is clearly not supported. I gotta get us out of this. Pull in metal or something. Nope. It no longer likes anything. Okay, there you go. Okay. So now I can get us back to Oswald. Oswald, save me. There we go. All right. So anyway, so you could pair like that. You could also come in and say, the question I have really with using any sans serifs here, which I think you had. What were you using here? Okay, so you could use Playfair Display here. I would not use it here. Okay, it's a display typeface. So display says I have attributes about the character that need to be that really only work at larger sizes. They lose their definition at smaller sizes. You would need something like Playfair text, not Playfair display. So if you consider Playfair, I would only consider it at the larger sizes, and I would consider it like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's Gothic. That is okay. All right. Sorry, this was just copied, so that's fine. Gothic is the same as Roboto and Open Sans for me. This is a little broader. This has some different weight to it. So if you decided to combine like a vertical with, if you just decided to combine a condensed with another sans serif, I might look at Archivo. You get your Archivo black. If you wanted it, and there are different weights with it, but it's a little wider than your Roboto or Open Sans. So I like it from that perspective. It makes a sharper contrast between them. If you were wanting to go Playfair, we'll come back to Playfair. Playfair display. And I would go really heavy with that because it has like a lot of really small strokes inside of it. There's a lot of stroke modulation going from thin to wide. So these little details, they need a lot to work with. So I would go with like a bold, but this is all in service to this is all in service to attempting to pair very different typography together. But I would, if there's anything that I would say about these is stay away from using any sort of condensed in small sizes. Stay away from using Playfair display as a text. Feel free to use it as a headline. It's a beautiful typeface. Really like it, but not as smaller text. Be sure that if you're going to use a Roboto or an Open Sans, just use it within itself, or pair it with something like a Playfair or a Bebas or a Oswald. Make sure that there's some sort of noticeable difference between the two, and I think with that you'll be in a good spot. And I don't mind this. It's just I want to go. I want to go somewhere different with the headline. This typography it doesn't carry, but this typography carries very well against some of these sort of background considerations. And again, you've got this. I would really look at this with a screen on it, so that you can have salutations. I couldn't even read that the first time through, and it's simply because it's on a background, and that's the trouble you get. That's the trouble you get in anytime you put typography on an image. The other question I would have is, can you crop this so the blade is more over here on the first display? Finally, the other note I would say is, I'm looking at this, and like this top nav right now is a significant portion of the screen, and it stays in view. I have a bit of a consideration about how deep that is. I don't know if this is a situation where you would want to have this stick. I could totally understand like wanting your social nabs and whatnot to stick, but I'm not sure about. Oh, that's nice. But I'm not sure about this, all of it. Okay, so that's my 2 cents on where you're at with it. I know, I definitely know that you have a lot of considerations here. I know his color is red, like from this logo that he has, which I'm praying that you get an opportunity to update that. But and it looks like there's some work going on here. With that said, though, you're gonna hear from your client. They're gonna say, "Hey, yeah, my color is red, so can we turn that background color to red?" And like, it's a knife doctor. It's like, yikes. I don't necessarily know if that's the best move. So, because it just, knife and blood just it gets so fast to blood when used on a hand with like just. And the other thing is, I really see the watch. It's like he's also the watch doctor. So we've got to figure out a way to get this to like to come up. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents on that. I know you're going to be continuing to iterate on this, so I will let you run with those things. Oh yeah, speaking of which, we had a look at this. We had a look at the courthouse here. I actually wanted to take us back for a second. So I was working on this circuit project. Been working on it with the good folks over at the Chicago Reporter and Better Government Association and Injustice Watch here in Chicago, and it's kind of an interesting thing where they've taken 40 years of data from the circuit court, and they've pulled it into a database where they're going to be able to surface certain stories that you never would have been able to see before. because of the way that data is saved in the core system. And they wanted a logo for this big project. It's basically 3 websites coming together, and then it's going to have its own website. And I started off kind of in this area over here because it was all this disparate data coming into the core system, very hard to read, very hard to see. And I kind of began moving this around a bit. I started with the C. It's very Chicago Cubs-ish. Then I started rotating it. Then I started getting into these circuit boards, and Cook County is the county that the circuit court is over. Cook County, by the way, is about the size of Rhode Island, so it's about the size of a state in itself, a very small state. Here's a county seal, so it's drawing a lot of inspiration. Here's the color schemes for the 3 websites. Began looking at it in terms of like a circuit board that was in the shape of Cook County, crossed circuits, which has a very New Mexico flag feel to it. Triangles, very kind of Westworldy feel to it. And then as we kept going, kept getting a little, it's very drippy here, almost like a flag there. These input feeds that form these loops, if you will, a feedback loop. Very Sony Ericsson here with the suns, if you will. And as we go, we started getting into the, here's the courthouse. So we started looking at, the circuit board thing had resonated a bit. So we began looking at, okay, more with the county, the columns of the courthouse building itself, a gavel, and then finally we ended up over here. So we had the column, the courthouse, and the circuit board, circuit county. And then we tried to elevate that one more time to give nodes on the circuit board. And this is roughly where the courthouses are in the county. So that where you see the nodes, that's actually where a courthouse is located, generally speaking, inside of the shape of the county. And then we've overlaid it with the shape of the county, and then there's just the original, and here the circuit board is going all the way to the bottom of the courthouse. So this is where the project is now. It's in this state. But I thought it was interesting to kind of give you an idea of what it's like to take something from its initial phase and kind of work across. And you can see there's discarded ideas over here, and there's discarded ideas over here. But a lot of times I've had people ask, they've said, do you really do like 20, 30 versions of a logo before you like get to the end? And I hope this shows that, yeah, absolutely, 100%. And you can notice like there was a lot of, the circuit came from this set of the circuit and the county came down here. The court itself was a second round. There was a few things here that worked specifically with color based on really those sites, and then typography came into it really last. I wasn't adding and really even considering typography until the very end, because it was like all focused on the actual logo itself. So just wanted to give you a peek into that as I do projects here and there. I've been doing this long enough to where people call me up and they say, hey, can you do a thing? And this is kind of what I do when I'm not doing this, is I help people with identity, and I help people with building out separate sites and things like that. So just know that trying to practice what I preach here when I say yes, and you need multiple iterations of that, and yes, you do need to look at it without color. And at the same time, I broke my promise to myself. I started it on the wrong foot. I started with color, you know. And part of that was I was up against the challenge of trying to figure out how to bring 3 different websites together, and that's tough. And we're still having ongoing discussions about that. But I figured I'd give you folks a peek behind the hood, being that I had just showed you the county courthouse there. So another thing I wanted to point out, this was something that we worked on over the weekend, was this concept of animating Figma. And last week we had a session where I was trying to work through Rebecca's file and figure out, okay, where are all the things? And it's extremely messy to try to begin building out animations in a file you've just seen for the first time. So I was a little stressed out working through it, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean that I did not want to come back to it. This is actually a file I shared with Rebecca over the weekend. One of the troubling things with regard to these projects is it's hard to figure out how to trigger them as you're going through a site. A lot of these things are like, they're basically something that should happen on scroll, okay? And one of the things that I've discovered is good to use in these instances is what I call an invisible hover. And the concept of the invisible hover is simple. I need a box that has no fill to it, so it's just an invisible box. And then I want to have that in a place where if I were to come in and if I had this selected, I would set a transition on it so that it would smart animate from one screen to the next when my mouse entered that area. So rather than having this just automatically happen when the page loads, I want to be able to scroll down so that it happens at a very specific spot, and then I want it to transition over here, but then I want it to stay there. I don't want it to like pop back. The other thing that I would want is, the other thing I was wanting to show is how do you handle a second animation and a third animation and a fourth animation. And as you can see, this pipes its way over from the first page that handles the first animation to the second page, which handles the second animation, like these boxes. And you can kind of see they're present in all the screens. You see how as I wand over, and you should see the same thing here. Those boxes are present in all the screens, which means there's no new elements being added. That means everything needs to be on the first screen in some way. All right. So when we hop over here into the transition, and I'll restart this one. So here we are in the transition. You get an idea of what happens there, and then you can see those come in. The typography here I think is a little large, but the real goal here is that we see the transitions happen. So you get an idea of how those things come in. And I do know that because I have so many files open, I have multiple presentations going at the same time, it lags a little bit. But do know that you can do multiple animations in a single page in Figma, but you have to stagger it the right way, and that often is the difficult part, is figuring out how to stagger it so that you can see these animations actually happen. So that's that's animating in from the right, and then also when I did this, the other change here was In the original, the opacity was very low, like 5%, and then I brought the opacity up to 100. So that's how you have it come over and appear to fade in. That's how you're doing it. It's with opacity. You're not actually having to move it. And you could do that also without moving it at all. You could just have it just illuminate. Okay? All right. So, excuse me. Let's hop over here to Tejel's resume. Tejel has her resume in here, and she has submitted this over. I'm gonna check. I see a lot of discussion happening over here. Okay, that's pretty light, and that is live streaming. Okay, we're gonna check this document out really fast. It's interesting. So Tejel submitted this over for offline reading. So sorry about that. I didn't see that. I thought this was your main submission. The one thing I would point out here, Tejel, is it appears like we've still missed the cleanup of the tools section. That's very minor, but that's something I noticed right away. It looks like you've updated your City Bus prototype on your on your actual website. So let's go to that. And you had a couple of other questions. I'm going to have to dig around in your code, and I'm actually going to have to dig around looking at these hero animations. How do you make the animation start instantly? That part I don't necessarily know. I would, it says duration 1000. That's how I would think that you would handle that animation, is to shortening the animation. It's interesting. I'm not exactly sure how you would trigger that on load. I do believe, there's, this started right away. So I guess that's my next question. How is this firing right away? This whatever we've done here, we need to do that on these other animations, because this loaded just as soon as the page loaded. So I'm not necessarily sure if there's something special called upon this, although, oh yeah, this is that weird in-between size. Sorry about that. Okay. So it's funny because you've got AOS init and AOS animate on this class. I'm wondering if AOS init basically says start, and that's why it's firing. Is that the missing piece? I'm curious, because now I want to go look at your other case studies. Because your other case studies, it came. It's interesting. I wonder if you need AOS init on these as well. That's my curiosity. I want to go back and look at the documentation on that, but sincere suspicion here is that that's happening on this because of AOS init being paired with it, and yeah, you got AOS init on that column, and it fires the other one. Sorry, just hopping over to Bergen. I bet it's already there. Yeah, you've got it attached probably right here. Maybe not. No, it's right there. Okay. So you've done what I would expect, what I would want to have done. You also had a question about case study names up here. We talked about this before. I really do like Bergen and Idea Board over case study 1 and case study 2. Sorry. I think that case study : Bergen, case study : Idea Board gets long, and that's my concern. I think if anything, study : Bergen, like anything to shorten it. I think people can make the link between a case study and study. So I would look at that. Or I would just go with Bergen and Idea Board. But I don't think I would say case study Bergen. It's too long. Because that stuff's going to be like out here by the time you get done with it. And then, yeah, it's not ideal. Let's continue looking at this. You got Busy Bus here. Yeah. I wish you folks could go back in time with me and take a look at the original Busy Bus. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. Like if you're gonna do this, I'd like these things to like. I didn't really mean to screen grab that. If you're gonna do this, I would like to see it like large, like take over up into the corner, like go off the screen with it, because I immediately kind of have to cock my head to see what's going on. And these are good screens. I don't know if I would distort them like that. I think 1, 2, 3 is way better than 5 slanted. I'm a grandpa here, but like I just think when your work is good, I just want to see your work. And your work is good. This is far better than where you were at the beginning of last week. So I would just show it. And I wouldn't worry about showing 5 screens. I'd show 3 screens. Or if you had 5 screens, just go off to the side. But I'm not a fan of the tilty thing. It's like, hey, my work's crap, so I'm gonna hide it. That's what that says to me. And your work isn't crap. Your work's actually really good. So I would play it straight. Let's see here. You added a GIF prototype. Yeah, and this is something really, really smart. Let's take a look at this. Tagil add it. Oh, that's nice. Love that. I'm guessing that's an image. Yeah. Okay. I'd give yourself some more space here. Somehow. I would try to go larger with this. I'm not sure how big it is right now. Let's get a peek at this. As I just, yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's not gonna do anything. Now I'll turn width back on. Oh, weird. There's some sort of really weird constraint on it. Not sure. You know, I'd have to get into the CSS to take a look at it. But I think it's because it's going. I think okay, I see now, because the GIF is like. Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious. I just want to kind of see if I can peek in here and kind of better understand it. Yeah, it's okay. So it's got the width to it. So to really make this wider, I had to kind of understand what the image was doing. I like the GIF. I just wanted it to be bigger. And I know why it's not bigger now. Because it's going the full width, but the width has a constraint to it. So to really make this happen, I'd have to make this single call, like, and that gives me the larger GIF. But now this, so to do it, to give it any sort of oomph, I'd have to basically end the column, go edge to edge with the GIF, and then begin the column again, because otherwise the GIF's going to continue to play at that really tiny size. The important thing about having the GIF is that I can see the interactions without having to go into the prototype. Right now I can't really see the interactions because it's, you know, if I refresh this, it's just teeny tiny. But the reason it's teeny tiny is the width of this is, you know, it has the white background on it, and then the maximum width it can be right now is this. I'd like the actual space of the phone and the GIF to be like that, minimum. And then I think you would have something. But right now it's just a wee bit small. I do wonder if we could take this in and edit it into a more vertical frame. Although the thing you don't want to do is you don't want this GIF to be like the entire width. So you know, it's basically a kind of a delicate balancing act you've got to play. But you definitely want it to be kind of a middle ground. I think if you could edit this, take it into QuickTime and edit it into like a square or something, you could probably get by without making any code changes, and just make all of your changes to the actual GIF itself. That's my 2 cents on it. It's better than not having it. I don't know if that is helpful. The other concept is, if you were worried about space, you could always duplicate. You know, something I've seen other people do in the past is to have 2 GIFs operating different flows, playing side by side. However, it's nearly impossible to focus on anything when 2 GIFs are playing at you. Just like it's like you're being attacked by baby rattlesnake twins or something. It's like I can't follow it. My eyes can't process everything that's happening, even if it's the same thing. You could embed the prototype. But I think the button is fun. The embedded prototype, I worry that, I'm looking at this on my phone. If I feel like I'm going to a different experience, I have an unknown set of expectations about what I'm going to experience there, and I kind of get to adapt. If I see it on here, I'm like, oh, this doesn't work like I want it to work. So I think that linkage to the prototype is ideal, because if they're on their phone or something and the prototype doesn't work the way that they are anticipating, they go, oh, I need to try this on my desktop. To where they see the GIF, it gives them enough. Just my 2 cents there. And again, on a phone, this is going to get small again. It's going to be even smaller because of the width. So I really, really, really would like to see this cropped into a square, basically using QuickTime or something thereabouts to sort it out. I use ScreenFlow, this little app right here, and that's how I've done vertical animations for like Instagram TV and things like that. So something to consider there. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, oddly enough, I think we answered all of those. Let's go now to Katie. Katie's got some updates here, and she's adding additional content for her. She's moving into sketching, and one of the big things that we've talked about is pricing. Basically, she's working on Fresh Market, and to this point, she said meals as low as $6.99. Okay, so the pricing is $6.99 to $10.75 per meal. Meal subscription options, 3 meals. So $125. It's $10.25 per meal, $3.99 each week, $140 total. 5 meals. Most popular, $165. $8.25 per meal, plus free shipping. I think if I'm reading this right, Katie, and you tell me, it says dash. I'm reading this as dash, not minus. Okay, and I'm guessing that like $125 per month, and then the $10.25 per meal will be like in italics and smaller size, so that you see how that the number up top is the same as the number on bottom, but I'm just telling you that this is $10.25 per meal. $8.25 per meal is the same thing. Free shipping, $3.99 shipping. 10 meals, $300 per meal, $7.50 per meal. I'm not sure how I ever get down to the $6.99 per meal. I see $10.25, $8.25, $7.50. I'm guessing that you have the range for a reason. 10 meals a week is a lot. I was thinking this would be for people who want lunch and dinner, or for couples who want 5 meals a week. Correct. If it seems like too much, I could always add a separate option. Yeah, I could see that, but I think this is the important thing is you now have options for people to consider. Okay, your pricing targets should have been based on competitive analysis, and now when you roll this out in user testing, you can begin to grab market data to say, hey, is this in the right range, or is this too high, is this too low? You're going to get feedback, and that feedback is so critical because it tells you, okay, what has to be on the site to convert this person. Otherwise you're just kind of throwing darts, like, I don't know what it's going to be, but they'll react to something. And now you've actually like written it down, and you can go to market and say, okay, here's what we got, and does this work? And you couldn't do that before because it was vague. It was just like you were kind of floating around in the ether of it. So I like it a lot. I would go with it. It hits the right points. 10 meals a week seems like a lot until you think about it in terms of couples or families. Then it's nothing. It's nothing. And trust me, as somebody who I can't tell you how many stores I went to this weekend because things were sold out everywhere. Um, 10 meals, that's like 3 days. 3 days. This is 10 meals a week. Um, that's not even half a week. Um, and for a family, that's like a day. So day and a half. Day and a half. It's day and a half. So you get the idea. It goes very fast. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that's going to do it for me. Coming up next is no, there's nobody coming up next. I'm a dork. So this week I'm gonna actually put together a formal. Well, provided that I survive this afternoon, I have to go to the dentist, which means I have to reach out to a couple of people here. It's not my choice. It's not my choice. But this week I'm going to release a formal Figma animations video. We've kind of dabbled around and here's how to make a box float, but I haven't seen enough on this topic. Either on everybody's animation idea is like, hey, look at this, I made it blink, and then they say, hey, now you try. So I wanna outline some of the stuff that we've done here because I do believe that we should be going further with it, and it only helps kind of begin to think about, okay, so what am I gonna do when I get to the actual final designs. But with that, I'm Chris Courtney, New Pragmatic. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, and I will chat with you all again tomorrow. Take care.